we're heading up the reservoir. We've got an obstruction in our path. Not a bad thing. Stop other cars and stuff coming up. Not there's a lot come up here. Waterboard, forestry, farmer. That's about it. Another wee bit of obstruction here. This time it's animal based. And cows with calves. The way to take these slow and steady and be fine. Came across a load of Highland cows on our last trip. Both the males and the females have got horns. It can be a wee bit more intimidating. These guys should be okay. Famous last words.
She can go off.
Wait around the corner and see what there is sheep wise. South Loch Lomond coming into view again. It's up to central Loch Lomond. Conic Hill in the distance. There's some sheep on that wee hillock there, and Amber will need to go back in the lead. She's as gentle as a lamb, Amber, but the terrier instinct would take her over there in a second. To be honest, they're more likely to trample her and do her more harm than she would them. And it looks like I think we've got a buzzard up there in the background. Don't know if you can see that on camera. Quite common, the buzzards, hence their name, common buzzard. There are plenty of other slightly rarer birds up here. Most recently, a couple of sea eagles have been nesting on Loch Lomond. It's about the first time they've been seen here for about 100 years. Are you coming? Might be able to hear the distant kiak of the buzzard there. Quite a lot of foxglove. Nice looking plant. Highly toxic. Using heart medicine, digitalis. Avoid. Just coming into view there. That's the pumping stations at the base of the reservoir. Maybe just about be able to make out the horizontal line of the edge of the reservoir itself. We're actually going to the back end of it. The back end's suitable, semi-suitable for camp. Compared to the rest of it, it's pretty flat. You've got two options here. You can take that left fork, it's just a simple fence, and then up the grassy bank there's actually a wee set of stairs carved into the side of the reservoir. Or you can take this right fork, which takes you to the same place, the bottom right hand side of the reservoir. I'm going to go up this right fork because I'm looking for a bit of pine to make a rustic fishing lure. That's the pump station. Pipe distribution buildings. They've been up for about, what, maybe 25 years now. Still look as new as the day they were put up. This is one of my most visited reservoirs. Mainly because it's only about an hour's trek and a couple of hours drive for the house. Been up here since I was 10. And it's 40 years now. Over 40 years. Just love it. And this is on Glenfinlas Reservoir. You can take a right up there, a hill track, and just see in the distance there, and then cut down to the back end. You can go up the left hand side, even the water's high, just for a change. And we're just going to follow up this right hand side to the back end, although we're going to have to cross a wee bit of a burn, but you can see the reservoir's really low. Come up here in the winter, that steps are raging. The land's actually owned by Loss Estates. The reservoir itself is a water board. And I'll just let you have a wee read of that. Super dangerous reservoirs, even more so than Loch Lomond and things, because trying to get the rescue services up here, It's maybe 2 or 3 times as hard, which obviously gives you a lot less time to get recovered. The water, once you go up into the hills, is really cold as well, so don't get me wrong, do a wee bit of swimming, but the best thing to do is swim parallel to the shore. You don't need to be in much more than about 3 feet of water. Also, never jump off anything straight in. It's a cold shock, or if you walk out and go off a ledge and go under, it's that cold water shock. You get a heart attack and other serious problems. I ain't no expert on it, but one bit of advice I do know, don't get out your depth. And the other piece of advice, obviously, alcohol and water do not mix. Alcohol and boats do not mix. Alcohol doesn't mix very well with a lot of things. It's just something else to be aware of. I'm sure most of you know it, but there's been like 28 deaths. I think there's been about 28 deaths so far in Britain since the last few months. It's with this warm spell. So take note. I just came across an injured sheep on the shore there. I'll report that to the farmer on the way back down. It's worth knowing, I came up here a walk about 3 years ago in February, and Beast for the East was here. The heavy snow. Must have been 5 or 6 sheep lying half in and half out of the water, dotted at various points around the reservoir. Various stages of decay, even though it was cold. So even though you might think the water's absolutely safe to drink, being reservoir water in the middle of Scotland, always safest to run it through a Sawyer filter or some other maker filter, or just even boil it. Well, normally we would camp on the back of the loch and just on the grassy hillock there. This is probably about the lowest I've ever seen the reservoir. And we made an executive decision, we're just going to park up here, nice and flat, nice fresh grass. I'll take you a walk up there later, but a beautiful burn comes in there and a big pool. But for now, we're going to set up someone else camping across the other side there. Now, I definitely know this is the lowest I've ever seen it. Must have come up here maybe 40, 50 or more times in my life, and I've never been able to walk across this part. This is normally just where you can see that shoreline there where Amber is, at the very least up to there, if not up to there sometimes. Normally you have to go about 150 yards up that burn to get across. And this here is normally 25 to 30 feet across and about 6 or 7 feet deep. And obviously just due to this really dry spell we're having, we do however have a good bit for collecting water still. Take it out of the reservoir or direct from there with the Sawyer. The executive decision about camping halfway up the reservoir is overruled. Nice flat bit for camping it was, but really muddy at the shore, ankle deep at the good bits. Go get it. And just another simple tarp setup tonight, folks. Couple of carbon lights. Desert camouflage tarp. I think a lightweight paracord. Boiling, 4:05. Let's get a spot of luncheon. Maybe get a fishing rod out. Well, I'm afraid that trout never made it. I had the swim bladder pop. It took the worm down a lot further than I thought. So, rather than going to waste, I took a couple of fillets off it. And we're going to have them as a snack. So, can you open the packet? I'm going to do them in some salt vinegar crisp. Golden Wonder's the preferred option. I've stopped fishing now because I caught one and never made it, so no more fishing. That's my rule for today anyway. Tomorrow morning I might have a wee dabble with the fly rod. More likely to catch them right in the scissors. So 2 trout fillets. Getting onto the fire. A wee snack. Salt vinegar style. Three or 4 minutes each side should do them. Quite an oily fish, trout. Not just as oily as mackerel. And we'll maybe go for a spin for them in a few weeks. Really nice done at home with gin. Gin kind of soaks the oil at them. Makes them super tender, super tasty. Right, let's see how this is getting on. Wee bit of burnt crisp. Not to be confused with a well cooked trout. Now you know might take them if they're under 9 inches. That fish was at least 10, 11. This is just the fillets. I actually prefer the smaller ones if I am eating them. They taste more like haddock. Right, we've got dinner on. 9:40, bit of late dinner because we had a late lunch. There's a tin of macaroni from Asda. Ribbon, you might think. It's ramped up with 2 cut up gammon steaks that have been cooked this morning with some sauteed mushrooms and tomatoes. Looks a bit like a dog's dinner, but really filling. Tasty. And meanwhile I've made a couple of candles. And they've just got a normal tea light in them. I'm going to add some citronella, pure citronella oil, and that'll do our jungle tellies for tonight. And if you're going to buy citronella candles, you're kind of wasting your time. Most of them are just citronella scented. Better off buying yourself some citronella, pure citronella oil. Put it into a smaller bottle. Let your tea light burn 20-30 seconds, then put half a dozen drops of pure citronella oil in it. You'll find it will help keep the midges away. A long time I used to wonder why the citronella candles I were using were useless. This definitely makes a difference, but if the midges are on you, the midges are on you. Anyway, we'll get them going later. That was left over for 2 cans of iron brew for our lunch. They were frozen down this morning before we left. No IPN beers tonight. We're leaving tomorrow at lunchtime. Too much to do this week. Anyway, I bought my book with me this time. Patrick Robinson, fantastic author. right up there with Tom Clancy, if not better. It's mainly writes about submarine warfare in the Middle East. First chapter or two kind of slow, and then you can't put the bloody thing down. Not often I take a book onto the hills with me, but I've got it tonight. I'll get the head torch on. Just use the basic energizer. About 12 quid, 7 settings, red light, 1 bulb, 2 bulb and spot, and the 3 of them can be dimmed or brightened, and that's where you get the other 3 settings from. You might find, you'll see it on the hills, I take a lot of cheap stuff, or mid-range, usable, and that's mainly because if you stand on something, or you forget to take something back, or you lose something, it's too big a hit. The rods I use up here are about 6 quid each. 7-piece fly rod, about 50 quid. Don't get me wrong, I've got some nice rods and some nice Shimano Mucha reels that I use when we're out in the boat. COVID's kind of put a stop to that, although I might be able to get it out tail end of the season. Stay tuned for that. Anyway, I'm looking forward to this, and then I'm going to bed down and get into my book. And that is ready. Pamela can have first dibs. I'll stoke the fire up a bit.